Mini Metal M8. That's the idea with HTC's new One Mini 2. Miniature, yes, but with a fit and finish meant to make it impossible to ignore its flagship ancestry. So, if the larger One M8 caught your eye but proved too big for your hand, is the One Mini 2 a viable alternative? Or has HTC made too many sacrifices in its quest for a smaller footprint? It's a good question. Let's see if we can answer it. I'm Michael Fisher with Pocketnow, and this is HTC One Mini 2 versus HTC One M8. If you're wondering why HTC didn't just go ahead and call this the One M8 Mini, well, from a physical perspective, that's understandable. The One Mini 2 uses the same plan form, the same aluminum housing, the same speaker configuration, and it even comes in the same colors as its larger forerunner. In the hand, despite being significantly lighter, it elicits nearly the same feeling of quality, too. Look a little closer, you start to notice where corners have been cut. Just like on the last One Mini, a plastic border takes over from the aluminum at the phone's edges, and the IR transmitter at the top has been ditched, replaced with the relocated headphone jack. The buttons on the Mini don't have the satisfying click they do on the M8. The screen size is, of course, smaller on the Mini, but it's also a different display technology at a lower resolution. It's tough to see the pixel density downgrade unless you're getting an eyeball right up against the screen, but the M8's richer colors definitely pop more in a side-by-side look. We don't like its much warmer whites much, but the higher-end phone does offer slightly darker blacks. Under the hood, one of these is a muscle car, while the other is, well, a respectable compact. There's a gigabyte worth of difference in RAM here, and while each offers microSD expansion up to 128 gigs, the One M8 comes in a version that brings roughly double the internal storage. And at the heart of it all, the One Mini 2 brings a Snapdragon 400 to the table. Quad-core, yes, but no match for the raw power of the Snapdragon 801 in the One M8. The important question is, how much difference does that make on a day-to-day basis? And the answer? Well, not much at all. With each phone running Sense 6 atop Android 4.4.2, the software experience is almost identical, and that's true of responsiveness too. Multitasking doesn't seem impaired by the reduced RAM on the One Mini 2. The only way we could force an app crash was to juggle two memory-intensive games. And app launch times are about the same. From blink feed, to browsing, to media, to gaming, these phones both deliver like dominoes. Now that being said, there's no question that the One M8 is the phone we'd choose for high-end gaming. The beefier GPU in the Snapdragon 801 enables better graphics in some games, and results in a smoother frame rate in others. Plus, the larger, more vibrant, higher-resolution display is a real treat on the M8, and you've got a bigger battery and better boom sound to boot. Also, the M8's sensor core allows for conveniences like gesture-based unlocking of the screen, while the One Mini 2 makes you hunt for the mushy standby key, still frustratingly situated up top. Plus, the M8's larger size allows for a more spacious keyboard. It's the little things that remind you which of these is the flagship and which is the tag-along. You might think that's not the case in the camera department, where on paper, the One Mini 2's 13-megapixel camera handily beats the 4-megapixel shooter on the One M8. But in low light, those ultra-pixels on the larger phone prove their worth. Here's the USS Excelsior shot by the One Mini 2 in a very dim room. Even with night mode applied, we're not seeing much here. Now here's the same fine vessel shot by the One M8. Boom. And let's go darker. Here's a subway tunnel photographed by the One Mini 2 in automatic mode, and here it is with night shooting enabled. Here's the One M8's take of the same scene. Is there any doubt which one of these you'd rather have in a low-light situation? Turning the light up a little bit, we still mostly like the M8's photos better. No, you can't zoom into them as much as the 9 or 13-megapixel shots from the One Mini, but the One M8's slightly wider angle captures more of a scene, and just look at the color differences here. The experienced eye might call the One M8's photos oversaturated and oversharpened, and our own Adam Lane goes into detail on this in a photo shootout between these phones over at Pocketnow, linked in the description. But on the whole, we think the M8's photos sure do look a lot less washed out. You also have a wider range of options on the M8, including the unadulterated Zoe experience and the bokeh effects enabled by that special depth-finding sensor. But some of that can be approximated on the One Mini 2 by, for example, apps like Google Camera. In video, it's more of the same. Brighter colors with better midtones on the M8. We even prefer the One M8 for selfies, despite the front-facing cameras here being the same resolution and ostensibly situated behind the same wide-angle lens. Again, check out our full photo comparison at Pocketnow.com for some deeper thoughts on how these cameras compare. For now, we'll just say that despite the resolution gulf, we'd take the One M8's pictures over those of the One Mini 2 any day of the week. Same goes for the boom sound speakers, which are quite impressive on each model, but the One M8's larger chamber size gives it an oomph that the littler device can't quite match. It's tougher to find a difference on earbuds, though. If it's there, we can't pick it up. And callers are similarly circumspect when it comes to identifying which of these sounds better. They can't pick a winner, and neither can we. Each device performs quite well on AT&T's network in Greater Boston and New York City. In speakerphone mode, of course, the One M8 still enjoys a slight edge, and its larger battery means it usually lasts longer as well. We have more on these points in our full review of each device. Physically, there are many advantages to the One Mini 2. Those who love the look of the M8 but balk at its pocket-straining size may fall right in love with the smaller sibling. And people who hold resolution above all else on the camera front will also be pleased. The One Mini 2 doesn't measure up to the One M8 on the spec sheet, but then it wasn't designed to, and it really doesn't need to. Day to day, it performs excellently despite its mid-range processor. As heavy users, we'd of course prefer the M8 for a daily driver, and we continue to hold out hope that someday other manufacturers will follow Sony's example and bring top-shelf specs to a reasonably sized chassis. Until then, those who want the look and feel of a flagship without splurging on the extreme high-end will definitely appreciate the added choice the One Mini 2 represents. Our full review of the HTC One Mini 2 is available right now at Pocketnow.com, linked in the description below. And be sure to check out our comparisons, hands-ons, and other videos featuring this device and others here on YouTube. Also, follow us on social media, but most importantly, thank you so much for watching. This has been Michael Fisher with Pocketnow. We'll see you next time. That's a question worth answering. And this is HTC One Mini 2 versus HTC M8, One M8. I'm Michael Fisher with Pocketnow with HTC One Mini 2 versus against HTC One M8. HTC. I'm Michael Fisher with Pocketnow, and this is HTC One M8 Mini.